Still ahead here on Action News at 7. That oil spill is growing in the Gulf tonight as crews scramble to try to find some sort of fix.
Coming up, we'll talk live to a local photographer who is documenting the damage, especially to the wildlife.
Mexico continues to evolve in slow motion today as oil continues to gush from a mile beneath the surface. A 100-ton containment box failed. Engineers are now trying to come up with a plan B. In the meantime, the coast states are doing what they can to protect their shorelines from the 4 million gallons spilled so far. Ann Arbor filmmaker Tom McPhee is just back from the growing disaster in the Gulf. He's the executive director also of the World Animal Awareness Society and has been documenting the damage and the response to the disaster. And Tom, before we talk about your organization, let me know what you saw. You were there for 3 or 4 or 5 days?
Yep, 3, 4 or 5 days, and as you mentioned, it's kind of this slow-moving train wreck that's taking place. And we saw the oil slick moving into the Gulf. It was only 3, 4 miles outside of the delta of the Mississippi. You know, and we saw some wildlife that was being affected by that.
We've got some the film that you took, I should say video, but we'll call it film also. We've got some of that that we can take a look at. Maybe you can explain what it is we're looking at right here. This is obviously from
these are the Chandelier Islands that are already being painted with some oil. They're fairly close in, and we're also seeing right now some of the area around the Deepwater Horizon rig, and you can see this.
Sometimes you don't recognize the slick for what it is, but that's the slick right there.
Yep, and it continues to expand. You know, they were able to already pull out a few birds, brown pelicans and garnets, birds like that. There's been a few turtles that have already been found to have passed, but most of the wildlife right now has been kind of staying away from and or is below the surface and is not being affected by the oil just yet.
Well, speaking of that, coral is something people don't often think about. It really is a living organism.
And they don't realize that it's growing quite substantially along the rigs. This ecosystem is very vibrant underneath these 4,000 plus rigs in the Gulf.
So right now, if you had to make an assessment of the damage, obviously we know there's just a lot of oil. It really hasn't come ashore in the places where people tend to be concerned. In other words, where people spend a lot of time, but it's happening. And
I think people tend to lose some perspective in something like this too. You have this enormous amount of oil that's going to affect all of this area, but it's slow moving. It's just getting there. And we've been watching this story since the 20th of April, and I think people get tired of it after a while, and what they don't understand is it's just beginning for the wildlife.
Your organization, tell us what you guys do and what you hope to accomplish.
The World Animal Awareness Society, WA2S.org, and what we do is we focus a lens on a wide range of human-animal interactions in anticipation of trying to better understand our own evolution. You know, the moving camera, the moving image is the most powerful learning tool that we have. And if we study this human-animal interaction anywhere on Earth right now, we can see all of these different aspects of how people interact with life. And we can really, I believe, witness our evolution in this process. Some people interacting with life in a very proactive, positive way, and others around the world not so.
Okay, so your website is?
www.wa2s.org.
All right, and you're heading back to the Gulf again Wednesday, right?
I am. This is just starting for the animals.
All right, Tom McPhee, we do thank you for taking the time, and good luck to you, and we'll look for some more pictures from you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Tom. Carolyn?
All right, thanks, Stephen.